What's up guys, Evil Hammer 6 here, and today I'm going to bring you a new Corporeal Beast guide. Now this one is updated from my previous one that I have posted with new weapons, some new armor, and a few new abilities, as well as a little bit new of the tactic I have. Other than that, the footage in the background is just filler, so don't worry about that. I'll have some links on the screen right now to take you to different areas, such as the armor and the weapons that you want to use, different loadouts. I have two different loadouts I use. One's an attacker, one's a tank. One is a little bit less expensive than the other, so you can check them both out. I have some live footage at the end that I recorded to show you the method I used to kill the Corporeal Beast, as well as a couple of drops that I got. Not anything big, but it's just the point of them. Also, I have a few different types when the core comes out. I have a couple of kills when the core comes out very early, and I have one that has the core coming out at 80% health. So I hope you guys enjoy. Here's the first start of it.
This is the ability bar I use for both setups. I'm going to go over some of the abilities I find important. Slice is the basic ability that you just constantly go back to. Sever, it does a bunch of damage, 188% weapon damage, and it also reduces any damage that it deals to you by 10% for 10 seconds, which is really good. Also, this is a new one that I use on here. It's Sacrifice. It deals 100% of weapon damage, and you heal 25% of that damage that you deal, which is very helpful. Backhand I use, obviously. Corporeal Beast is immune to stuns, so you get 188% weapon damage instead. Cleave, it does 125% weapon damage, which is good. Dismember, it does 125% weapon damage over an amount of time, which is very helpful. I use that coupled with Slaughter, which is a threshold, and it does 100 to 250% weapon damage over 5 seconds. And then sometimes I will push Corporeal Beast out of the way if I'm using the tank armor method, and just in case I get hit, it doesn't usually kill me, and then they'll suffer 3 times damage. I also use Smash, which does 125% damage. I use Assault, which is I usually only use all the way up till the core comes out, because after the core comes out, you stand in one spot too long, and the core will start draining, obviously, the life points and give it to Corporeal Beast. Hurricane does 188% damage, and it's a threshold as well. That's good after the core comes out. I use that, and this other one, which is Quake. I use this as much as I can because it also drains the 5% of the target's defense level, which is very good coupled with the Assault ability, which you'll see me use. Another new one that I use on here is Devotion. This will maximize 100% effectiveness of the Protect prayers, which means he will not be able to hit you with mage. And then we use Anticipation a lot too. I use that just to provide a 10% buff over 10 seconds, which provides some immunity. I'll use this a lot, which a lot of people will not use, or they'll rather use something else. I like to use this. It reduces damage dealt to you by 25% for 30 seconds, which is a lot of time. And then it does another 200 to 250% damage, which is usually about 4 to 5k, 6k damage, which is a good chunk of damage. Also, I leave my ability tab open. That way I can, well, I use my defense ability tab. Now you guys can either sub some of these out for these two, but they're also important. I use Debilitate quite a bit. That's a threshold, and it reduces damage dealt to you for 50% for up to 10 seconds. I'll use that as much as that comes up. I just can easily click over to it here. That's why I have it over here. As well, I have the Constitution ability, which sometimes if I need to want to get an extra kill in, I'll use Guthick's Blessing. Or if you're just low on food and you want to get a kill in and you don't have that much health, use Guthick's Blessing and gives you some healing. Of course, you have to have it. The Ice Asylum is kind of pointless because you're the only one killing it, so just use that one. We'll go over gear next. Now this is the attacking setup that I use. This can be useful if you're good at putting out a lot of damage. So if you don't want to eat a lot and you'd rather just constantly spam abilities, this is better setup. What I have here is the important things are for your gloves, your boots, and your helm to be magic based. Which means that it will defend a lot of melee damage. I have my Sea Singer's hood, and then I have static gloves and Ragefire boots. You can downgrade all of these to Gano. If this setup here, if you use all the degradable items I use, it also have the ability to use Protect item, which I use all the time. You will not lose any items each time you do it, unless the game glitches or something. I use the Ceridonian Whisper because since I'm using Vampirism down here in my Scrimshaw slot, and I'm using Vampirism in my Aura slot, I like the extra prayer bonus it gets, and it's 4.4 crit. You can use whatever you prefer. That's personal preference, really. I use the Superior Reef Robber's Cape. I use this because it provides amazing life point bonus of 400, especially when you're using this low tier setup. This is very helpful. You can buy one as well. The one that you buy does not have as big of a life point bonus, but it's still helpful over some other capes. And well, it still provides a 1.5% crit bonus. And then I use bandos. So this is not degradable, obviously, these top and bottom, which is helpful because when they drop to the ground, I don't have to worry about having a item protection in here as well. And then I have the Superior Leviathan ring, which I highly suggest getting even if you cannot make this version of it, get the tradable version because it still reduces a lot of incoming damage. You can link to one of my videos I'll put up on the screen to explain how that works. And here you probably for this setup would want the Chaotic Spear. It has a lot more damage and accuracy. You can still attempt to sub that out for a regular Zamorak Spear. The method I will be showing you, well, not method, but the way I get kills, I get 2 kills per inventory of food. Roughly, I can get 3, rarely. So if you don't have this full setup, you're probably only going to get 1 kill per inventory of food, depending on how good you are. I'm not the best. I'm just showing you the guide that I use. Okay, for this setup, I don't really change anything out other than the things that I put in here. I have a Sign of Life, and that is because I don't want to die, period, with this setup, because it's basically just a ridiculously hardcore tank setup. So I don't want to die. If this goes off, what I will do is I will put on I have in my inventory a Sign of Item Protection. I'll show you my inventory in a second. And that will then protect another item. Along with this will protect 5 items, so I usually only lose 1 item, so that's not as bad. Basically there's nothing that changes other than the Tetsu body and helm. It just gives you a little bit of extra damage protection, but I feel with the bandos it does about the same thing. So if you can't afford the Tetsu, go with the full bandos. Just make sure you buy a vampirism. Okay, so for the inventory, as you can see here, you can set up however you'd like. This is how I usually set mine up. All the food at the top and the potions over here, these I'm not going to use these other than one time. Basically you want them where you can click quick, or you can put them on the bar and just hit your buttons. But I take 1 super restore flask that will last 2 kills, sometimes 3 if you push it. I would suggest bringing another one if you're going to attempt to do any more. I bring 1 adrenaline flask, which you don't use the whole thing, but I just have everything in flasks, so I bring them. A 4 will also work, as well as overload and a renewal. 4 will work. You don't need an overload. You can take extremes. I wouldn't recommend supers. Overloads are really simple. All you gotta do is click and forget. The other ones, you gotta make sure you're not leveled up or your levels are high enough and stuff. I don't mess around with that. I take a prayer renewal flask as well to boost the prayer as well. And then I take dread nips. These aren't necessary, but they're very helpful. They do a decent amount of damage. I'd say at least 5 to 7k damage overall through the fight. So they're very helpful. As well, here I have a weapon poison plus. What I'll do is I'll drink this and then I'll bank it and withdraw another piece of food in place before I go to the kill. It'll last 2 kills, and basically Corporeal Beast isn't immune to poison. You can use this and it'll do quite a bit of damage. I'd say another 5k damage overall the fight. So it's very helpful, especially when you're soloing. For food wise, you guys can take sharks, you can take rocktails, you can take rocktail soups. I'd suggest higher tier food for the first time you do it, just in case you die. You'd rather not die. So higher tier food, if you have some left over, oh well. I usually take a mix of shark and rocktail, just depending on how each fight goes. Because sometimes the core can come out really early or it can come out really late. You don't know how much food you're going to need. Okay guys, now to get here you're going to use a games necklace. I didn't mention that. You'll want to put one in your inventory, and there's a teleport on it that will take you directly to the Corporeal Beast lair. And then once you get here, you want to turn on your scrimshot and activate your aura. Turn on Protect Me to protect from Mage and your Protect item, as well as Turmoil or a other stat boosting spell if you have it. As you see, the minute I go in, I start spamming basic abilities. I'll rotate between my number 1 and then any other basic ability and go back to number 1. And I will also put out a Dread Nip right away. And the minute that Dread Nip drops, I'm going to put another one out. The first thing I try to do, as you see there, I just went up, I used Quake ability, and then I used the Assault ability right after. So if the Quake ability hits, the Assault ability will do quite a bit more damage. And at the end of you using Assault, you're going to want to hit one of your normal abilities, and it'll do another decent, massive amount of damage. Now, as you saw there, I just used the Bleed ability, but I did not attempt to move him. I didn't try to run under him like I have in previous videos, and this is because I have my bando set up on, and I only have about 8,410 health, so not that much. Now, if you guys do need a little bit more health when you're doing this, or just just because it's your first time, you can go ahead and burn some logs. But if you burn 5 of them in a bonfire, you'll get a boost to your HP. You can burn any amount of them. It just lasts a certain amount of time and gives you a little extra boost for each one. If you can, just go ahead and burn Elder or Magic Logs. Those are the best ones. Now right there you see I used Pulverize ability, and that's because I got up right before the core came out. It's about at 50k HP. So when it hits 50k HP is when I tend to start using that Pulverize ability, because I know that core is going to come out. Now the basic idea here is to run back and forth along one side of the Corporeal Beast and just use one ability, run, one ability, run. Now, if your frame rate is good enough, when I record, it is not good enough for me to use 2 abilities. But if my frame rate's good enough and the connection to the server that you're playing on is good enough, well, the world, you could say, you can usually get 2 abilities off before you have to move again. It depends. That core just is kind of random, so you just kind of have to gauge how many abilities you can get in before you have to move another spot. Here I'd suggest staying above, when you're using the Bando setup, at least about 2.5 to 3k HP, because he can just do a regular melee attack for about 1700 damage, which definitely hurts. And then if you get like stuck with the core or something, it hurts even more. Now that debilitate ability that I just used there, as you saw, is very helpful as well. I try to use that every time it comes up. What I will do is, you'll see me, if you watch the videos all the way through, you'll see me use the debilitate ability, the devotion ability, and the anticipation ability, one after another as they cool down and as it refreshes off my bar. Above my ability bar, you guys can see how long things are lasting for, so that's about it. That way you can, you know, when to press stuff and whatnot. So that's one kill. I have 2 smooth kills here that I'm going to go through real quick. So in between kills, what you're going to see me doing is you're going to see me using Anticipation, Freedom, and then Surge, or you can use the range ability, which is the one that makes you go backwards. It doesn't matter as long as you keep your adrenaline up. Now what you'll see here is I'm reorganizing my food in my inventory. That way I know where everything is. And sometimes I spam click. You're not really paying attention when you fight, so sometimes I click off the bottom row, sometimes I don't. I like to drag all my food up to the top row, the easiest place to click. So that's what you'll see me doing. He spawns in about a rotation of 6 of the abilities that you're going to spam through. Well, not spam through, but Anticipation, Freedom, and then Surge. And then you can use Anticipation, Freedom, and then Surge one more time, and then he's going to spawn on that 6th time, which is about 60 seconds overall. So at that 60 seconds, you're going to want to make sure you turn your prayers back on, re-overload, and get ready for the fight to start again. As you see, I used about half food there. These 2 kills here are going to be smooth. I'm going to show you one other kill that I do that is really bad. But as you saw right there, what I do right away is, since I have the full amount of adrenaline, is I will use Pulverize right away, straight off the bat. And then what I'll usually follow that up with is drinking my adrenaline flask, which will get me up to being able to use Assault and some more threshold abilities. And then I just go back through and start spamming my abilities again through basics, and use the debilitate and the abilities that will also protect me. Now, as you can see over here, as we're going through, you see the shields that pop up on me. Now that is the Leviathan ring activating, and you'll see in my chat box that it'll block X amount of damage, which you will see it blocks a lot of damage because Corporeal Beast hits are heavy. So when it does block, it blocks a lot, which is very helpful. As well, you'll see the green poison damage on a Corporeal Beast. Now that can be, some of them are from me and some of them are from my Dreadnought, which will also poison him as well, which is definitely helpful. And here, as you can see, the core is going to come out real soon. These kills, it seems like they've regulated Corporeal Beast a little bit more, at least with this core that I've been doing this guide for. They come out around 40 to 50k HP every time. There is one time I believe I did it, and it did come out about 20% HP, so definitely an easy kill because you don't have to worry about running back and forth, which is the most annoying part of doing Corporeal Beast solo. And also, I don't know if you'll see in the clips here, but I do not recommend this, as I will use Assault while the core is chilling on top of me. Now, I only do this if I know I have enough food to eat back up and I have enough health, and I just want to get rid of the Corporeal Beast fairly quickly. It will obviously heal the Corporeal Beast, so if it does miss, if the Assault does miss, I will usually 1 or 2 of them. You're not going to do that much damage to it at all, so it's not very helpful, but I do like to use it sometimes. I wouldn't recommend it, though. I'd recommend keeping to the Cyclone and the Quake one, as well as the Debilitate and the Bleed ability. So here you'll see me kill it fairly easily. I'll put one more dread nip out and we'll get the last drop. I don't think these drops I recorded had the good loot on them, but I might include one at the end. But you can get some really good loot from him. I got cannonballs, which is about 1.5 mil. You can get the elixir about 900k, or obviously any of the spirit shields items, which, I mean, they're a lot of money, but it's very hard to get them. So as you see here, I still have quite a bit of food left over. Now I could stay for another kill. The only problem is I did only bring one prayer restore flask, so I can't get another kill in. So this is going to be the clip here, guys, that the core actually spawns at about 80k health. One other tip that you guys do want to do is in between kills, if you want to turn off your scrimshaw vampirism, you can do that just to save some time on it, and it saves a little bit of money. But you have to make sure you turn it back on afterwards, because then you're just going to be mad at yourself if you don't. The kill started off pretty normal until I get him down to about right in about 2 seconds when the core spawns out. I was about to walk out. Now, if this does happen to you guys, see, I have a lot of food left, so I figured I could do the rest of the kill, and I was debating it, but I did stay for it. I did get the kill. It just takes a little bit longer, actually quite a bit longer, because this kill, you guys will see, it takes a little bit longer if you time it out, just because of the fact that you can't use assault, and you can't do that first 50 to 60k damage really quickly. But if you do get one of these guys, and it's definitely your first kill, and you're at 80k HP with him, I just suggest walking out and walking back in. I just did this kill to prove to you guys and show you guys that it's not impossible to kill him, especially when the core comes out at, you know, such high health. Obviously, the equipment I use definitely helps with this, but that's about it. Even when you have a kill like this, you definitely want to make sure when the core comes out and the Corporeal Beast has that much health, you want to make sure you're putting down dread nips as often as possible, using anticipation and devotion and the debilitate ability as much as possible. It is very helpful to get off a pulverize ability, because it does reduce his damage by 25% for 30 seconds, which is a lot of time, especially when you're having to run back and forth. So if you can get that off, definitely recommend doing it. It is harder to get off because in this phase of the fight, you are eating a lot more than you would be during the first 50k HP. So it's harder to get off, but it's still doable. Now, if you aren't going to use the vampirism aura, or you don't have it, I would suggest just bringing all rocktails or all rocktail soups, the highest food you can. I'd recommend using the tank ability because that does give you a lot of HP, even though it doesn't seem like it. If you do 2.5%, which is what the vampirism is, times the 1,000 HP has, that's 2,500 HP that you get back over the course of the fight, coupled with the vampirism scrimshaw, that brings up to 5,000. So that's why you get so much health back during this fight, which is very helpful. Other than that, I just keep going back and forth. When he does do that splash ability like you see on the screen, I would suggest trying to run away from it, because if you do run away from it, it will do no damage to you. The little splashes will, but the main attack will not, because it lands on the ground and it's an AoE effect. So as you can see here, we're getting close to the end of the kill. I'm running a little bit low on food. I don't remember if I used Gothic Blessing or not, but it looks like I'm saving up for it. But nope, I used Slaughter, so no, I'm not. But I did still have 4 Rocktails left, which is about, you know, half of inventory of food. So I just go through here and spam as much high tier abilities as I can, and I do kill him. But as you did see, I used quite a bit more food, and it did take quite a bit longer. So I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. It's updated, and I'm planning on doing some more updated guides soon. So I'll see you guys later.